Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going deep into the life of, well, I guess you could say one of America's biggest icons,
I think that's a safe bet.
Benjamin Franklin.
Yep. We all know him.
Right. We're going to be using the American History Tellers podcast.
Great series.
It is, yeah. I think you'll be surprised
Yeah.
by some of the stuff we find. This is more than just the, founding fathers.
Right.
Kind of a story. It's a lot deeper than that.
Yeah. He's a lot more than just the powdered wigs and the kite.
Right.
Yeah. Benjamin Franklin was always kind of reinventing himself.
Yeah.
So we're going to see how all of that kind of early life shaped his path to becoming, I guess, this like Renaissance man.
Okay. So picture this. Boston, 1706.
Big city.
Bustling city. Young Benjamin enters the world.
Here he comes.
The 15th child
Oh my God.
out of 17.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
That's a lot of siblings. A lot of folks in the house.
Yeah. That's a lot of people to be fighting for attention.
Definitely. His father was a candle maker, and, times were tough. Back then it wasn't as easy to, just pop down to the store and get a new candle. So they were working, all the time. And formal schooling wasn't really an option. So he ended up, working the family shop as well.
Wow. And but here's where things, take a turn.
Yeah, right.
Right. At 12 years old, he's apprenticed to his brother, James.
Okay.
A printer.
A printer.
And this is where Franklin's real education, I think, begins.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right about that. Because, being a printer back then wasn't just like putting ink on paper. This was the printing press was the heart of communication and spreading news and ideas.
Everything. News, gossip.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Pamphlets.
All of it. Yeah. Yeah. So imagine the impact of kind of being immersed in that world.
Mm-hmm. Right. And he clearly had a thirst for knowledge, right?
Oh, yeah.
He would,
Huge reader, a voracious reader.
Spent countless late nights in that print shop devouring books, teaching himself to write.
Self-starter.
Talk about a self-starter.
Yeah.
Great.
Really driven guy.
Yeah.
And that dedication really, really paid off. It set the stage for all his later successes.
Right.
And, it wasn't all just serious study. Franklin, even as a teenager, had a
little bit of a
mischievous side,
Yeah.
Remember Silence Do-Good?
Oh, yeah.
The pseudonym.
His pseudonym.
He used to write these satirical pieces
Satirical.
for his brother's newspaper.
For the New England Current.
Poking fun.
Yeah.
At authority figures.
At
just 16 years old.
16 years old. Think about that.
I don't think I would have the guts to do that.
I don't know if I would have been that bold either.
It shows you, he's got this independent streak and this kind of sharp wit,
Right.
But that relationship with his brother, I think, eventually soured.
Right.
And then, at 17, Franklin makes this big decision, this
daring decision
that really changes his life.
He runs away.
Yeah.
Not just around the corner.
No, he takes off.
He sets sail.
He sails all the way to Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Pretty much like Brit.
Barely a penny.
Yeah.
To his hand.
Talk about a rags to riches story in the making.
Rags to riches, right.
Yeah.
Arriving in Philadelphia with, I think, $1 to his name.
Yeah, $1 in his pocket.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it. To start over with so little.
Yeah.
But that's where you see kind of Franklin's resilience. He's determined to
make
something of himself.
So he lands in Philadelphia.
He's there.
A young man in a new city. How does he go from being a runaway apprentice to becoming what we know as this huge successful printer?
Well, it wasn't without its hiccups. Right. He had this chance meeting, with the governor, William Keith.
Oh, yeah.
Who made all these grand promises.
Safety promises.
Yeah. About helping Franklin set up his own print shop.
Oh, right.
So he gets his hopes up.
Yeah. Keith was like, oh, you should totally sail to London, to buy a printing press, and I'll give you letters of credit, so you can cover the cost. But of course, the letters never materialized, leaving Franklin kind of, high and dry in London.
Stranded.
Yeah.
In London.
For a year and a half working in a print shop just to survive.
Yeah.
What a blow that must have been.
Tough break, right?
Yeah. Knowing Franklin, I bet he didn't, like, let it get him down for too long.
Well, you're right. He really used that time kind of to immerse himself in London's intellectual scene.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Smart move.
Yeah. I mean, so he's exposed to all these new ideas.
Right.
New ways of thinking.
Yeah.
Which, I think that's what really broadened his horizons and fueled his
ambition.
Yeah.
Right. So he comes back to Philly even more determined to make his mark.
Exactly. And, he finally gets his own print shop running. Even lands a contract to print Pennsylvania's paper currency.
What?
Yeah.
Talk about a savvy.
Talk about savvy. I mean, he understood
business move.
The power of public image as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, remember that there's that famous story of him like deliberately hauling paper rolls himself, cultivating this image of the hardworking, frugal businessman.
Right.
Like,
he's just like any other.
I'm just like you.
Right.
Working
man.
Yeah.
That's clever.
It's a clever strategy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's building trust, showing people he's not afraid to get his hands dirty.
Right.
But his path to success wasn't without its obstacles.
Yeah.
He had to contend with like fierce competition, particularly from this other printer named Andrew Bradford.
Things got intense.
And things got pretty intense.
Right.
Yeah.
Bradford had control over, the Postal Service.
He'd control the Postal Service, yeah.
And tried to block.
So he tried to block
distribution of Franklin's.
Of the Pennsylvania Gazette.
On his paper.
Which was Franklin's newspaper.
The Pennsylvania Gazette.
Yeah.
So what does he do?
Well,
Franklin.
Here's where you see kind of
ingenuity.
Franklin's ingenuity, maybe his mischievous side. He finds a way around Bradford.
How?
By bribing the postal carriers.
No way.
Yeah. To deliver his newspaper instead.
Wow. So
talk about thinking outside the box.
I mean, it's just
that's great.
He knows
how to get what he wants.
Get things done, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it worked.
Did it work?
Not only did the Pennsylvania Gazette thrive, but eventually Bradford lost his position as postmaster.
Yeah.
And guess who stepped in?
Benjamin Franklin.
Of course.
Of course.
So now he's got even more control over the flow of information throughout the colonies.
Right. I mean, this guy was
unstoppable.
Unstoppable, yeah.
Right.
And it wasn't just about personal gain,
Yeah.
Franklin genuinely believed in using his success to make Philly a better place.
Right.
So, this leads him to kind of create the Gento Club.
The Gento Club.
Yeah, this place where artisans, thinkers, businessmen, they can all come together.
Yeah.
And talk about ways to improve their community.
And they did more than just talk.
They did.
Right.
Yeah.
The Ununto was the driving force behind
Oh yeah, I mean, think about America's first public library.
Yes.
A fire corps.
The fire
Even a police patrol.
Yeah. These were all ideas that were
all coming out of
sparked by Franklin.
Yeah, Franklin and his Gento buddies.
Right.
Yeah, it's fascinating, right? How he really understood that collective action could lead to real change.
And and this was just the beginning.
This is just the beginning
of Franklin's
Right. It's his journey into public service.
Public service, right.
I mean, he went on to, establish a hospital.
Yeah.
And even founded the University of Pennsylvania.
University of Pennsylvania.
So, I mean, you start to see kind of the seeds of his later political activism taking root there.
Right. But let's not forget the side of Franklin.
Oh, no. Yeah.
That loved
to
tinker and experiment. Right. And so it's around his 40s that he becomes absolutely fascinated with the then mysterious world.
Mysterious of electricity, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he wasn't just studying it in isolation. He loved to make it entertaining.
Yes.
Right. He would throw these electricity parties.
Electricity parties.
I mean, can you imagine?
Oh my God.
He's electrifying portraits.
Yeah.
Making metal jump around.
Wow.
Can you imagine being a guest at one of those gatherings?
No.
It would be.
That would be wild.
It would be wild.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, you can't talk about Franklin's his scientific stuff.
Yeah.
Without talking about the legendary kite experiment.
Yeah, the legendary kite experiment.
Right.
It's such a classic story.
But,
I think the real significance goes beyond just kind of proving that lightning is electrical.
Right.
It's what he did.
Yeah.
With that knowledge.
Right.
That really mattered.
The lightning rod.
Yes.
Right.
This practical invention.
Right.
That to this day is still
used.
Protecting buildings from
lightning strikes. Exactly. It really embodies Franklin's approach to science.
Yeah.
Always trying to apply knowledge in a way that would benefit people's lives.
Right. Practical.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And this really pragmatic mindset, I think, would become even more evident as he kind of, transitioned into the world of politics.
Right. So 1751, he's elected to the Pennsylvania Assembly.
Wow.
And later becomes
later postmaster.
Deputy Postmaster General.
Deputy Postmaster General.
For the colonies.
Yeah, for the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, these were like pivotal roles, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's not just focused on Philly anymore.
He's a big player.
He's interacting with
right.
leaders from all over.
I mean, he's meeting with leaders from all the different colonies.
Gaining value.
He's getting insight
into the challenges.
Yeah, the challenges and opportunities.
Facing
of all of America.
America as a whole.
As a whole.
Right. Yeah. It's like he's putting together a puzzle.
It's like a puzzle. He's starting to see this bigger picture that most people weren't even aware of.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
1754.
The French and Indian War.
The French and Indian War.
Breaks out.
Right. This conflict fought on American soil.
Oh, yeah.
Is I think a big turning point for Franklin.
Yeah.
And for the colonies as well.
It was like a wake-up call, right?
It was. It was a huge wake-up call. I mean, the colonies are vulnerable.
Divided. Yeah.
And they're facing a real threat.
Yeah. I mean.
And I think that's when Franklin saw kind of this urgent need for unity more clearly than ever before.
Right.
And that's when he created that
the Join or Die
cartoon. Which is arguably one of the most powerful political cartoons in American history.
I mean, it's just that image,
Oh, yeah, of that fragmented snake.
Yeah.
Each segment representing
a colony.
It's
just such a
brilliant,
striking image.
Classic Franklin.
Yeah.
Using his communication skills.
Yes.
To rally support for a cause.
Right.
And he recognized that, images could be just as powerful as words.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to reach a wide audience.
Right.
And
this was part of his push.
This was part of his push
for the Albany
Plan. For the Albany Plan.
Right.
Which was this proposal.
Yeah.
To unite the colonies under a single government. Which, ultimately failed to gain approval.
Right.
From either the colonies or the British Crown.
Right.
But that idea
of coming together,
yes,
I think took root in Franklin's mind.
Yeah.
Especially as tensions with Britain,
with Great Britain,
started to escalate.
Right.
And so now we're getting to the good part.
Oh, yeah. Things are about to get interesting.
We're talking about the tax dispute.
The taxes
between the Pennsylvania Assembly, and the Penn family.
The Penn family.
Who were the
proprietors
of the colony? Right.
Okay, so, I mean, this is complicated, right?
Yeah.
To understand this, we got to go back a little bit.
Okay.
So, under this proprietary system, individuals or families were granted these huge tracts of land, by the British Crown.
Yeah.
And they essentially had governing authority over.
But over those lands.
Basically like mini kings.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, in essence, the Penn family, basically owned Pennsylvania.
So they owned it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they had the power to grant land.
Wow.
Collect taxes.
Wow.
Even appoint officials.
Oh.
It was a lot of power.
That's a lot of power.
Yeah, for one family.
Right.
But the Pennsylvania Assembly, which represented the colonists, they started to clash with the Penn family over their tax policies.
Right.
They argued that the Penns were exempt from paying their fair share.
Oh.
Right.
So this is like the classic.
Yeah, the classic
power struggle.
Power struggle.
Right. Between the people with power.
Yeah. And the people.
who want the power.
Right.
Yeah.
So where does Franklin fit into all of this?
Well, the assembly decided to send Franklin to London to negotiate directly with Thomas Penn.
Wow.
The head of the family.
Okay.
It was a delicate mission.
Yeah.
One that required both diplomacy, but also a deep understanding of the British political system.
Yeah.
Which, Franklin had.
Right. But little did he know.
Oh, little did he know.
He'd be spending the next
5 years of his life in London.
In London.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was an extended stay.
Yeah.
Full of unexpected
twists and turns.
Right? Yeah. So he's there. He's navigating.
He's navigating the complexities of British politics.
Yes.
All while, trying to secure
fair treatment for the colonists.
Right.
And it's fascinating.
It's fascinating to think about him.
Kind of straddling these two worlds.
Right. On the one hand,
he's becoming a prominent figure in London society.
Yeah.
He even invents a musical instrument.
Oh, the glass harmonica.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So
he's rubbing shoulders with intellectuals, scientists, even royalty.
Wow.
But
at the same time,
he's becoming increasingly aware of the growing divide between Britain
and America.
Yeah.
Right.
And then 1765,
boom,
the British Parliament passes
the Stamp Act.
Right. And this throws fuel on the already smoldering fire of colonial discontent.
So here's where we see Franklin in kind of a delicate position.
Right.
He personally opposed the Stamp Act.
Right.
But he was initially
cautious
in his public response.
And how he responded publicly.
He was worried that a super aggressive reaction from the colonies could backfire.
Right. Yeah. So he's kind of,
So he's trying to be
the voice of reason.
Yeah.
In this growing storm,
Right. But that approach kind of backfired on him.
People accused him of
supporting the act.
Right.
Even though personally he was against it.
Right.
Can you imagine?
Imagine being caught in that.
Yeah, crossfire.
Caught in the crossfire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shows you how
polarized
the atmosphere was becoming at this time.
Right.
And it wasn't just, political attacks he had to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
The situation became so heated that an angry mob in Philadelphia even threatened his wife, Deborah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah, it was a dangerous time.
Right.
And it forced Franklin to kind of reevaluate his strategy.
Yeah.
He realized he needed to take a more forceful stance.
Right.
If he wanted to protect the colonists and prevent, things from spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
So his next move is really a masterclass in diplomacy.
Yeah.
And it really kind of solidified his role as this key voice for American interests in Britain.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
It's a big moment.
Tell me more about this masterclass.
Okay, so in 1766, Franklin is summoned to testify before the British Parliament about the Stamp Act.
Wow.
So, picture this, right?
Yeah.
This runaway apprentice.
Yeah.
Now, respected figure standing before the most powerful legislative body in the world.
Wow. What an incredible moment.
This is his chance.
Yeah.
To make the case.
For the colonies. Right.
Yeah.
And he
doesn't disappoint.
Not disappoint.
He delivers this calm, reasoned, and incredibly persuasive testimony.
He's got all that.
He's answering questions with remarkable clarity and insight.
Wow.
He even warned Parliament that if they tried to enforce this Stamp Act by force, it could lead to rebellion in the colonies.
He was basically telling them,
he's basically saying, look,
if you push too hard,
if you push us too hard,
you're going
to lose control.
Yeah. And his words had a huge impact on Parliament. They ended up repealing the Stamp Act.
Yeah.
Which is,
a major,
a huge victory.
Victory for the colonies.
And
a big turning point
for Franklin.
For Franklin as well.
Too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like everything's going.
It seems like okay, we're good now, right?
Yeah. But as we know,
the story doesn't end there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, those seeds of discord had been sown.
Yeah.
And despite the repeal of the Stamp Act, tensions between, Great Britain and the colonies continued to escalate.
Right.
And Franklin, caught between these two worlds, is facing increasingly difficult choices.
Right.
Yeah. And then, to make things worse, the Boston Tea Party explodes onto the scene.
The Boston Tea Party.
1773.
Talk about an iconic act of defiance.
Yeah. I mean, it's this image etched in American history.
Yeah. The colonists.
Yeah. Dressed as
Native Americans.
Dumping chests of tea.
Dumping all this tea.
Into the harbor.
Into Boston Harbor.
I mean, it's just it's an incredible moment,
Right.
But how did this event impact Franklin, who was still in London at this point?
Yeah.
Huh, I
mean, I would think.
It put him right
in the firing line.
In the firing line.
Yeah, the British government was furious.
Oh, yeah.
About the Boston Tea Party. I mean, they saw it as
a
direct challenge to their authority.
Of course.
Right. And Franklin, as a prominent representative of the colonies, became a target of their anger. This leads to one of the most humiliating experiences of his life.
What was it?
This public dressing down before the Privy Council.
Oh, this is a scene I've always wanted to hear more about.
Yeah.
Like, paint us a picture. What happened?
Okay, so picture a grand chamber, right? Filled with powerful men, curious onlookers.
Franklin is summoned to appear before the Privy Council.
Right.
Which was essentially the king's advisory body.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Right.
And he's standing there
as
this guy, Alexander Wedderburn, who was a prominent lawyer, known for his scathing wit, launches into this vicious...
So this wasn't a calm legal proceeding.
No. This was a full-on...
This was like...
character assassination.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, Wedderburn accuses Franklin of everything.
Everything.
From inciting rebellion to stealing the Hutchinson letters.
Wow.
He calls him a liar, a traitor.
Wow.
I mean, he used every rhetorical weapon he had in his arsenal to paint Franklin.
As an enemy.
As an enemy of the crown.
Of the crown. Wow. What do you think was going through?
I know. It's just like...
Franklin's mind during all of this. I would have been like fuming.
I know. What's so surprising is that, Franklin remains completely silent.
Wow.
Throughout this whole thing.
Really?
He's just standing there like stoic and composed, absorbing all these insults.
Yeah.
Without flinching.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really a display of remarkable
control.
Self-control.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, if that...
It's almost as if...
Silence was more powerful than any, like, retort he could have given.
Yeah.
Right. So what kind of impact did this have on...
Oh, it had a big impact.
On Franklin.
He realized that his hopes for reconciliation were really dwindling.
Right.
And the British government saw him as...
a threat.
A threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, to add insult to injury...
Right.
They stripped him of his postmaster position.
Right.
Which he'd held for years. And it had given him a lot of,
Influence. Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, he goes from being this...
this
celebrated figure.
Public enemy.
To public enemy number one.
Number one.
In just a few short years.
Wow.
I mean, that's a
tough pill.
That's a tough pill to swallow. Yeah.
And, remember, his son, William, was the royal governor of New Jersey.
At this time.
So now you have...
father
and son.
On opposite sides. Of this conflict.
Right. Talk about a family divided.
Yeah.
It's a heartbreaking situation.
Yeah. William chose to remain loyal to the crown, while his father was increasingly, moving towards independence. Yeah. And this created a rift between them, that never fully healed.
Wow. I mean, it's hard to imagine, like, the pain and disappointment.
It must have been so.
That they both must have felt.
For both of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it really highlights
the personal
costs of
revolution.
I mean, families were
torn apart.
Right. Friendships were shattered.
Yeah.
Loyalties were tested, you know,
right,
in really
profound ways.
Profound ways.
So what happens next for Franklin? Does he just
What's his next move?
pack his bags?
Yeah.
Head back to the colonies?
Yeah, yeah.
Defeated, disillusioned?
I mean, think he's done, right?
Right.
No.
What happened?
He returns.
He returns?
To America.
It's 1775.
Wow.
Just as the Revolutionary War is breaking out.
Okay.
But he's not, you know, he's not defeated.
No.
He's more determined than ever to fight for the cause of liberty.
Wow. And he's not what? And he's, you know.
Exactly a young man at this point.
He's no spring chicken.
He's in his 70s?
He's in his 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
But
yeah.
Age is no factor for Benjamin Franklin.
Right, right.
He immediately dives headfirst
into the fight
for independence.
Right.
She becomes a delegate to the Second Continental Congress.
Oh yeah, this is the gathering.
This is the one
where the decision's made.
Yeah, to declare independence
from
Great Britain.
From Great Britain.
Right.
Right. And Franklin's.
And he's
right there.
They're in the
thick of it.
Thick of it.
Using, you know, his sharp intellect and his political savvy to help shape this huge
momentous
decision. Amazing to think that this guy who started
as a runaway apprentice,
right,
is now
playing this key
role in the birth
of a nation.
It's pretty incredible.
It's incredible, and he wasn't just,
and he's not just there to like offer his wisdom and experience. He's actively involved in drafting the Declaration of Independence.
The Declaration of Independence.
One of the most
important
documents in American history.
Yeah, I can just imagine, like the debates and discussions.
The debates and discussions that must have gone on.
Must have been happening
in those meetings.
During those meetings.
It must have been so intense.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there were strong personalities, differing opinions.
Right.
A lot was at stake.
Yeah, but even in those,
high pressure situations, Franklin's
sense of humor
kind of shines through.
Yeah.
Right. Remember that famous story about?
Oh yeah, with
John Hancock. You know,
Hancock. He was worried that
they were all
they would all hang together. Right.
Yeah.
Signing the Declaration.
Yeah.
And Franklin, with his typical wit
responds.
He replies, "Yes, we must indeed all hang together, or most assuredly we shall all hang separately." I mean, classic
Franklin.
Classic Franklin. Oh, right.
Yeah.
You know, even in the face of danger.
He can still find a way to lighten the mood.
Lighten the mood.
Yeah.
Right. But signing the Declaration was...
But, you know, I mean, signing that document...
A serious act.
It was a serious act of defiance.
Right.
Yeah. I mean...
It was an act of...
It was treason.
Treason.
Punishable by death.
Wow.
I mean, these men, they were literally risking their life.
Risking their lives.
Yeah.
For the cause of liberty.
For the cause of liberty.
Wow.
But, you know, Franklin, despite his age and everything he'd accomplished, you know, he didn't hesitate.
Right.
He fully embraced the revolutionary cause. And his unwavering belief in America's future was a source of inspiration.
For a lot of people.
For so many people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have a Declaration of Independence.
Right.
But now they have to win a war.
They have to win the war.
Against the most powerful empire in the world.
Right. So where does Franklin go from here?
Well,
this is where his diplomatic skills really shine.
Okay.
He is sent to Paris. In 1776.
Wow.
On a mission of vital importance.
What was it?
He's got to convince France
to join
the war.
On America's
side.
Yeah.
Now, that was no easy feat. Right.
France had its own
issues
with Great Britain.
Yeah.
But getting involved in a full-blown revolution
was a huge
gamble. Right.
It was.
So I mean,
so he had to play this very delicate dance.
Yeah. And Franklin played it
masterfully.
I mean, he understood the French court, their culture, their interests.
Right.
You know,
he knew how to
use his
charm,
his intellect, and this image that he'd cultivated
Right.
of like
the simple
virtuous American to win over the French people.
Yeah.
And more importantly, King Louis VI.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think about him like strolling through the salons of Paris.
Yeah.
Right?
Rocking
his fur cap and spectacles.
Yeah.
Captivating everyone with his witty stories. And
his revolutionary ideas.
I mean,
he was like
he was a rock star. I mean, people were fascinated by him. He became like this symbol of the American cause.
Wow.
Right.
So did he
in securing French support?
French support, he did.
Yeah. Okay.
In 1778,
wow,
France signs a
treaty
of alliance
with the United States.
Providing
much needed military and financial
support. I mean, that's a
major turning point. In the war. Right.
Yeah, without French assistance.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine. Americans winning their independence.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Franklin really was
instrumental
in shaping the course of history.
His history.
He spent, nearly a decade.
Wow.
In France, working tirelessly
to
secure loans, supplies, military aid. And he wasn't just dealing with the French,
Yeah.
He was also involved in negotiating treaties
with other
European powers.
Wow. He was like skillfully navigating.
I mean, he's
this complex web,
a master
of international relations. It's hard to grasp like the scope of his accomplishments. During this period. Yeah. He's not just a
diplomat. He's a
diplomat, nation builder. He's laying the groundwork.
I mean, he's laying the groundwork
for a new world order.
Yeah. Where the United States could stand as an independent nation. Among
the powers of Europe. I mean, it's really his efforts during this time are just crucial in shaping, the international landscape for generations.
Wow. I mean, we've covered so much.
We've covered a lot of ground
already, but the story's not over yet.
Not done yet.
Right.
Yeah. So what happens to Franklin after the war's won?
Yeah.
I mean, does he finally
get to
relax
and enjoy his golden years?
Knowing Franklin, relaxation wasn't
really in his
nature.
He returns to America. He comes back to America.
In 1785. A man in his late 70s. But still full of energy and purpose.
I mean, yeah, I'm starting to sense a theme here, host speaker.
I'm starting to think this guy just never slows down.
He doesn't.
Right.
So what's
just back in America, and what's next on his?
Guess what? He's immediately elected president of Pennsylvania.
Of course he is.
Which was, basically the equivalent of governor back then.
Right.
Yeah.
So what does President Franklin focus on?
So what are his priorities?
During his time in office?
Well, he uses this position to advocate for a number of progressive reforms.
Okay, like what?
Including the abolition of slavery.
Wow. Now that's a
pretty
radical stance for the time.
Right.
Considering, slavery was still deeply ingrained in American society.
Deeply ingrained.
At this point.
Yeah. I mean, Franklin had always been critical of slavery.
Right.
But his views evolved, I think, over time.
Right.
And by this point, he was a vocal advocate for abolition. He's using his considerable influence to push for an end to this horrific institution.
Right. It's remarkable to think about, how ahead of his time.
He was way ahead of his time.
He was on this issue.
He saw the inherent injustice of it.
Yeah.
And he believed it had no place in a nation founded on
liberty and equality. Right.
And I think his work on this issue would really inspire future generations of abolitionists.
Right.
But his contribution
didn't
stop there.
He also played a crucial role.
Oh, no.
In the Constitutional Convention.
Of 1787.
1787. Right.
81 years old. He's the oldest delegate
81.
at the convention.
Wow.
His experience, you know, his wisdom, his ability to
find compromise
were essential
to the success
of this historic gathering.
All right. Imagine being in that room.
Can you imagine?
Being in that room.
Brilliant minds trying to like forge,
trying to like create
a new framework
for a government unlike any other in the world.
I mean, what was
it's an incredible moment.
Franklin's specific role.
I think he's a unifying force.
Okay.
You know, he's helping to
bridge the
divides between different factions. Yeah.
Well, he's a master of compromise. You know, he's always looking for ways to reconcile opposing viewpoints.
Yeah.
And find common ground.
I can just picture him, right? Like calm and collected.
Oh,
amidst all the
he's got that
heated debates,
offering a witty remark here.
Yeah, a wise suggestion there.
You know,
guiding the process toward like his successful outcome.
He's steering the ship.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, his
presence was essential.
Yeah.
You know, he helped to create this
atmosphere of respect
and
collaboration. Right.
Which is, I mean, that's
which was so
crucial. Yeah, in forging a document, you know, that balanced individual liberty with the need for a strong national government.
It's just astounding to think about, like, the scope of his influence.
Yeah. Right. From a runaway apprentice.
I mean, runaway apprentice.
A key figure.
To a key figure.
In the American Revolution. To now shaping the very foundation of the United States government.
It's an incredible journey.
Yeah. It's a testament to, I think
it's a testament to his unwavering belief in the power of, you know.
Of human potential.
Yeah. Both his own and that of the nation he helped create.
This has been an incredible...
Well, it's been an amazing...
journey exploring the life of Benjamin Franklin. We started with a runaway apprentice.
Yeah.
And we ended up with a founding father.
Who
helped to shape the destiny.
of a nation. Wow.
Yeah, it's really...
And it's hard to sum up.
It's hard to summarize the impact that he had. On America and the world. On the world.
He was a scientist, an inventor.
A
writer. A diplomat.
A
statesman.
A
champion of liberty. He really embodied, I think, that spirit of the American Enlightenment. This belief
in
reason, in progress,
and
the power of human ingenuity.
Yeah. And he was also
and let's not forget, he was also a
master communicator. Right.
I mean, his wit and that wisdom, you know, they continue to resonate with
resonate. Now. I mean, you see it in his writings,
his aphorisms,
even in his
clever inventions.
He understood, I think, that to make a difference, you had to connect with people. You know,
engage their minds
and inspire them to action.
Yeah.
And he did that. You know, time and time again.
Again and again throughout his long
and remarkable life.
This has been an incredible journey. Yeah. I want to thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
On this deep dive.
Into the life of Benjamin Franklin.
The amazing life of Benjamin Franklin.
I hope you've enjoyed it.
I hope you've enjoyed it.
As much as we have.
As much as we have.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.